A Tale of Two Unlikely Friends. On a rural Central Florida farm lived two unlikely friends, Carlos and Marty. Carlos was a very tall, handsome, and intelligent giraffe who was very analytical and a mathematical genius. His best friend, Marty, was a self-conscious, reserved, and hard-working donkey. He was humble, but knew there was more to life than wasting away on a hot Florida farm. These two friends are about to take us along on their whirlwind journey. We're going to see what happens when you have bigger dreams for your life. Along the way, we'll witness what can happen when you set goals and work hard to achieve them. Although you'd think these two farm animals would be an unlikely pair to partner up, after almost 7 months of mixing and mingling on the farm, these two developed an unbreakable bond of friendship. As time went on, their idle chit-chats they'd have to pass the time eventually transformed into deeper conversations about what ifs. What if they weren't confined to working on a hot Florida farm? What if they weren't forced to sleep in a itty-bitty barn full of hay? What if they had enough money to catch the next animal hauler and get as far away as possible from the farm work that they dreaded so deeply? These conversations went on until one day, Carlos the giraffe decided that it's time to make their dreams a reality. After much consideration, heavy discussion, and brainstorming, jointly the two had discussions about what steps were necessary for them to take in order to change their lives. The plan was to get a good night's rest. While still under the cover of darkness, they would wake up early and head out to find a ride from rural Florida to the big city of Las Vegas, Nevada. Upon arriving in Las Vegas, they were turning up the fun at any and every casino that they saw. Let me tell you, these two had the time of their lives. Those slots didn't stand a chance with these two in the building. Anytime around the clock, you'd see these two pulling handles and collecting their winnings. As the days passed, they started to elevate their attire with these designer Italian suits. Their swag was on 1,000. Oh, you could definitely see that the slots were treating them well. Those two won a lot of money. Let's not get it twisted. While they won a lot, they also took some losses along the way. When it was all said and done, surprisingly, they'd ultimately won much more than they'd lost. The two buddies couldn't contain themselves. They celebrated their winnings by buying themselves fancy suits, their own slot machine for home, so they could practice and perfect their skills for future casino visits. They'd even taken the time to schedule a photo shoot to celebrate their big win, and the slot machines were their focal point for the photos. After about 2 weeks of freedom and living the good life, reality would set in. Vegas was loads of fun, but they felt so out of place. Over those 2 weeks of fun and excitement, they never once saw any other animals on the strip. The thought of living freely among humans felt too daunting. Having to find a place to live, buy food, pay bills, turned out to be more involved than they'd anticipated. Ultimately, Carlos and Marty packed their things, rented a limousine, and headed back to rural Central Florida. Before leaving Vegas, they put on their sunglasses, opened up the roof of the limousine, and took that final lap of freedom. They popped their heads through the roof of the limousine to soak up the last of all the lights, action, and excitement. Both Carlos and Marty reflect on their humble beginnings and how far they've come in life once they began to chase their dreams. As the limousine cruised down the highway back to Florida, Carlos and Marty sat in silence, soaking in the last bits of neon lights fading in the rearview mirror. The trip had been everything they imagined. Fast money, fancy suits, and the thrill of the win. But now, as reality settled in, so did the undeniable truth. No matter how much fun they had, they will always be outsiders in a city built for humans. Vegas had given them the adventure of a lifetime. But something about the simple life back home didn't seem so bad anymore. The farm might not have flashing lights or high-stakes slot machines, but at least they belonged there. Still, this wasn't the end of the dream, just a new chapter. If Vegas wasn't ready for a giraffe and a donkey, maybe it was time to bring Vegas to the farm. The idea wasn't as far-fetched as it sounded. They had the winnings, the experience, and most importantly, the confidence to take another leap. With a smirk, Carlos leaned back into his seat, already running calculations in his head. Marty adjusted his sunglasses and nodded in agreement, as if reading his friend's mind. Maybe the farm didn't have to be the end of their story. Maybe it was just the beginning of something even bigger.